This video provides an update on my assessment of the situation in the Ukraine-Russia war to show how the Nazis, Zelensky, and Germany have succeeded in their goal for provoking the conflict. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. Since 2014, Germany and its ally China have been trying to start World War III against the United States, British Commonwealth or Britcom nations, and Israel to fulfill Bible prophecies that show that these English-speaking nations and Israel will be defeated and enslaved by a German-led alliance. Obviously, they do not want to blindly start the war without considering how other nations might react to their provocations. They want to cover all angles. India is firmly allied with them. Germany has control over continental Europe through the European Union in the sense that militarily the continent cannot oppose Germany. But the Germans and Chinese were not sure of Russia's response to their provocations to start the war. I don't know what the Germans have been thinking, but I never imagined that if Germany and China were to instigate a war with the United States, Britcom nations, and Israel, that Russia would jump into the war against Germany and China. Why would Russia, with a population of 146 million, want to enter a war with Europe, allied with Germany, through the European Union, with a population of 448 million? And China with a population of 1.426 billion, nations that have nuclear weapons and are equally technologically advanced in weapons manufacturing. For the sake of self-preservation, I would have expected Russia to stay out of any war involving other major powers. Of course, I have no access to any private diplomatic initiatives between nations. My understanding of future events is based entirely on Bible prophecy and what is reported in the media. Therefore, I was highly surprised to learn that Germany provoked Russia into a war with Ukraine to keep it engaged in a long-term conflict so that it would be in no position to intervene in their war with the United States and Britcom nations. Bible prophecy indicates that Russia getting into a global war only during the 3.5 year long Great Tribulation, and that too only during the last year. But Russia had to respond after being provoked into war when Germany was on the verge of installing nuclear weapons and preparing facilities to develop biological and chemical weapons in Ukraine, in collusion with the Ukrainian Prime Minister, the Nazi Zelensky, to be used against Russia. Germans understand Bible prophecy very well because German mass creator prophets have received their understanding of it from Herbert W. Armstrong as members of God's church founded by him. I too have obtained my understanding of prophecy from Mr. Armstrong's writings. Why did Germany want to install nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons in Ukraine? There are likely multiple reasons. Firstly, Germany and China don't want Russia to enter the war on the side of the United States, Britcom nations, and Israel. Therefore, they wanted to keep Russia engaged in a war when they attack these nations. They knew that planning to install such weapons would provoke Russia to attack Ukraine, which Russia did. Secondly, they did not want to launch such weapons from their own territories, but from other nations' territories as close to the target as possible. That way, they have the maximum chances of themselves avoiding radiation based on wind direction. That's why China has installed nuclear weapons in North Korea to be used against Japan and South Korea, and in Afghanistan and South India to be used against the Punjabis and Sikhs in North India. If by chance such weapons are intercepted, the fallout from the destruction of these weapons will most likely be in the country from where they are launched. Thirdly, after the defeat of the United States, Britcom nations, and Israel, Germany knows through prophecy that just after 2.5 years, a clash with Eastern nations would be coming. Biological and chemical weapons will be used first, as mentioned in Revelation 9, verse 5, followed by a counterattack by the Eastern nations fielding a 200 million man army, as mentioned in Revelation 9, verse 16. Germans want to be ready for that clash. Ukraine, right on the border with Russia, would be an ideal place to locate their weapons to fight Russia and the Eastern nations, manned by Germans and German masqueraders in Ukraine, led by the Nazi Zelensky. The Germans are masters at sowing discord between people, leading to deep seated hatred between them, separating allies and the best of friends, a trait and expertise inculcated in them by Satan the devil. They have been a killing machine since the end of World War II, having caused wars and civil wars among many nations and through forced abortions, leading to the deaths of 20 to 30 million people and more than 100 million white babies aborted. They achieved such spectacular success because of the help of German masqueraders in every white country and looting the wealth of all nations to reward murderers. This was achieved because they were able to divide nations using their tactics. Two of Solomon's proverbs come to mind about their ability to separate the best of friends. Proverbs 16:28 states, "A perverse man sows strife, and a whisperer or one who gossips separates the best of friends." Germans clandestinely talk to one people or a person to slander another person or persons behind their backs. They continue such whispering or gossip behind the back incessantly to keep driving a wedge between people until the person receiving the communication begins hating the other individual, which gets reflected in his behavior, leading to best of friends being driven apart and eventually hating one another and becoming deadly enemies. The second proverb is Proverbs 17, verse 9. "He who covers a transgression seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates the best of friends." Germans keep repeating their clandestine talk with more quote unquote evidence to continue driving the wedge deeper and deeper till the best of friends are separated and begin hating each other. The prime example is what they've accomplished in India against the Sikhs, which was my former religion before I converted to Christianity 50 years ago. They did this in order to destroy the Sikhs because they fought the Germans in both world wars as part of the British Indian armies. The British recruited people into the British Indian Army from all Indian ethnic groups, including Jats, Rajputs from the state of Rajasthan, Marathas or Maharashtrians, Bengalis, Biharis, South Indians, Parsis, Muslims, now in Pakistan, and others. But Sikhs joined in large numbers in proportion to their population in the country. It was a way for them to make a decent living. All these Indians fought together in the war. There were no hatreds among them. We all got along very well when India got its independence from British rule in 1947. The Germans wanted to divide India so that they could destroy each other. They targeted the Sikhs as their first victims because they were different because of their religion and their looks because they kept long hair and wore turbans. They were easily recognizable by everyone, and because they participated in the British Indian Army in large numbers. They chose the main Indian business groups as allies first, which were the Rajputs and their fellow Rajasthanis, such as the Baniyas, and then the Parsis, South Indians, because they had strong manufacturing companies, Gujaratis, because Gandhi, a Gujarati, supported Hitler's efforts by launching movements in India during the war to make it as difficult as possible for the British, and the Bengalis because one of their leaders, Subhash Chandra Bose, recruited an army to fight the British during the Second World War. In Pakistan, they recruited Pashtuns, many of whom also live in India and are known as Pathans. Once relationships were built with technical collaboration in consumer industries with these business groups, the Germans then shared their plan with these groups to destroy the Sikhs. They gave financial incentives to all those who would participate in the nefarious scheme in the form of more technical collaboration in manufacturing industries, putting all the American and British industries at their disposal to work with because of the help of German masqueraders in these countries. Within a few short years, all these Indian people started scheming on how to destroy the Sikhs. They started murdering Sikhs individually or in small acts of violence. Through propaganda in the media, they demonized the Sikhs. With the financial incentives they received, all the rest of India was turned against the Sikhs. The Germans coaxed the Pashtuns in Pakistan to launch the 1965 and 1971 wars to conquer Kashmir and Punjab and commit genocide on the Sikhs. Then in 1984, more than 30,000 Sikhs were massacred. Thus, the Germans have succeeded in driving a wedge between the Sikhs and other Indians, so that most other Indians are committed to utterly destroying the Sikhs, and the Sikhs are determined to bring all Indians to justice who have participated in the nefarious German scheme. This hatred now is so deep that their relationships cannot be healed and will continue till Jesus Christ returns to earth and forces peace on earth. The Germans and Nazi Zelensky's goal in Russia has been the same as what they accomplished in India against the Sikhs. After the Cold War, there was not much friendship between Russia and the USA and British nations to begin with. But the Germans wanted to drive such a wedge between them that it would prevent any possibility of cooperation and instead turn their relationship into one of deep and permanent hatred. Even better, they wanted the two sides to start fighting each other. The Germans and Nazi Zelensky have succeeded so well that Russia has been driven to start interfering in US operations in Syria. I doubt if a war between Russia and the USA will start while Germany and China watch from the sidelines, but Russia will likely watch with relish when a war between Germany and China against the USA and Britcom nation starts. Here are the actions that the United States, Britain, and France have taken against Russia that have driven a deep wedge between them so that Russia has all the reasons to hate these Western nations. First, war with Ukraine was not of Russia's choosing. It was provoked by Germany when the Nazi Zelensky agreed to allow nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons to be installed or built in Ukraine to be used against Russia. Russia had to attack to stop that from happening. Second, Nazi Zelensky and German masqueraders in Ukraine were planning to oppose ethnic Russians in Ukraine to eventually force them out of Ukraine and kill many of them. Russia had to intervene to protect them. Number 3. Since the war started in Ukraine, unprecedented sanctions of every kind have been imposed on Russia, seriously affecting its economy. It cannot properly fund its imports because of banking sanctions. Russia's weapons manufacturing capability has been degraded because it can no longer import the parts and components it needs. USA, Britcom nations, and France have been in the forefront of imposing and implementing the sanctions, putting Russia in a desperate situation, driving the wedge between them and Russia much deeper. Number 4. USA and Britain, and to some degree France, have supplied nearly all the weapons and funding for other purposes to Ukraine to fight Russia, resulting in 50,000 Russian soldiers dead and an additional 220,000 wounded or gone missing, according to the latest estimates. On the other hand, because of the superior weapons supplied by the West to Ukraine, Ukrainians have lost between 15,500 to 17,500 killed in action and 109,000 to 113,500 wounded. Certainly, Russia now has plenty of reasons to hate the United States, BritCom nations, and France. Germany has supplied very little weapons or funding to Ukraine for the war, though Germany has some forces fighting in Ukraine. To avoid a direct war with Russia, the Biden administration is not providing weapons that could be used for aggressive military action deep inside Russian territory. This is merely a self preservation move, but it has provided sufficient superior weapons to be used in the field and have resulted in massive losses in equipment and men for the Russians. As far as Russia is concerned, there is no end in sight to the West continue to supply Ukraine with ever more sophisticated weapons to keep Russia engaged in war for the long term. With the losses in men and materials it has already suffered, Russia's hatred for the United States and BritCom nations has only become deeper and unlikely that it can be healed. Number 5. In fact, Russia has already started showing us hatred for the United States and France by interfering in their operations in Syria and Iraq. In 2 incidents in 2 days, Russian fighter jets flew dangerously close to several US MQ-9 Reaper drones operating over Syria, setting off flares and forcing the drones to take evasive maneuvers, according to a statement by the United States Air Force. The French military also said that 2 of its fighter jets on patrol over the Iraq-Syria border area were forced to maneuver to control the risk of accident involving a Russian Sukhoi Su-35 warplane on July 6, 2023. Russia is warning the two nations that because of their ever-increasing support for Ukraine in the war, it will feel free to interfere in any military operations by them anywhere in the world. Number 6. Germany and China had been trying to inveigle other nations such as Iran, Modi's India, and the Afghans to start a war that would involve the USA so that they can see how the USA would respond and what military weapons they have. They wanted to see their weapons in action. German masqueraders in the United States and BritCom nations have given them that opportunity by supplying the superior field weapons to Ukraine, whereas Germany has not disclosed its weapons, except for weapons of mass destruction, in which one would expect all sides to have the same capabilities. After all, what is the difference in how one participates in mutually assured destruction? The USA and BritCom nations have revealed their hand. Number 7. NATO has now expanded to include Finland and Sweden. Finland's joining in April 2023 doubled NATO's border with Russia. Russia believes it has been betrayed by the West and has broken its promises made in early 1990s to not expand eastward when it allowed the two Germanys to unite and Germany to put its military and weapons in East Germany. The West says no such promises were made in writing. The late Gorbachev said no such promises were made, but I no longer trust Gorbachev's words because he turned out to be a German masquerader who dismantled the Soviet Union. Now US President Joe Biden has emphatically stated that Ukraine's future is in NATO and will likely join as soon as the war in Ukraine is over. That development cannot be tolerated by Russia and will lead to a direct war with the West. That's why Biden had to say that Ukraine cannot be allowed to join NATO till the war is over. But nothing would threaten Russia's security more than having Ukraine join NATO. German masqueraders in the USA and British governments have thus given Russia even greater cause to deeply hate the two nations. Ben Wallace, UK Defense Secretary, indicated the danger of direct war with Russia in allowing Ukraine to join NATO before the end of the war, when on the second day of the NATO summit in Lithuania, recently he said that whether we like it or not, people want to see a bit of gratitude from Ukraine. When asked about Zelensky's frustration at not being presented with a formal invitation to join NATO. Number 8. The Nazi Zelensky has played his hand very well. He has repeatedly urged and pushed and goaded the United States and Britain to supply ever more sophisticated weapons to Ukraine. He has succeeded brilliantly in making Russia hate the two countries. He still continues pushing for more and more sophisticated weapons, knowing that it could lead to a direct war between Russia and the USA and Britain. German masqueraders in the USA and British governments have helped him get this far, stopping just short of being led into a direct war with Russia by not supplying more of the sophisticated weapons that could take the war deep into Russian territory. Thus, Germany has succeeded in forestalling any possibility of Russian cooperation with the USA, BritCom nations, and Israel in a war with Germany and China. They have succeeded in causing such deep-seated hatred between them that Russia will watch with glee when Germany and China start a war with them. German and Chinese war planning has been so thorough that they seem to have covered all angles in provoking Russia into a war with Ukraine. They may be ready to provoke the Third World War any day now. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is playing an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini to view and get information on the latest videos.